And I want you to have a little entry on your study sheet for this topic, and I'm going to try to summarize it as much as possible. What's this QR code? If you want to watch a video on this, it is not me talking. It's actually interactive. It's a lot more fun than my lessons, to be honest. You can watch it there. But I'm just going to say, what are the effects on the outliers when it comes to the measures of central tendencies? Anybody remember what measures of central tendency? What are we talking about? It means all the three M's: mean, median, and mode. Okay? So if you're wondering what in the world am I talking about there, it's the mean, median, and mode. Okay? Which one of the three is most affected by an outlier? The mean. Yeah, mean is most affected. Most affected. Okay, so this is the important concept here. A lower outlier pulls the mean down. I think you can wrap your head around it. Let's say test scores. You score 60, 70, 80. All of a sudden you get a 0 because you didn't show up. What's going to happen to your average? It's going to go down, right? Because 0, right? Like it just pulls it down. So this low outlier, the low outlier, pulls your mean down. So I have like a cowboy there wrangling in, lassoing in your mean, right? So your mean would be probably somewhere here, and now it's getting pulled to the low end, right? It's going to drop. Okay, so from that reasoning, what if I'm nice at the end of the semester and I remove that outlier? What would happen to your average? It would go back up, right? So it's almost like the person pulling this down is letting go, right? So I need you to have both of those concepts. At the same time, an upper outlier pulls the mean up. Okay, so this is the upper outlier there. Your mean is going to be somewhere where most of your values are. So it's going to pull it down, up. Sorry, I meant to say up. So have these, I'm going to highlight that here. Have this stated somewhere in your notes and this. Hi there. So we're going to just visually see that here. Okay. So if this is our data set here, and we've got a bunch of temperatures here, and all of a sudden you've got a negative 350 degrees Celsius. Guess what? With the outlier, what is our mean going to be like with the outlier? Negative 28 degrees Celsius. Without the outlier, removing it, guess what happens? It jumps back to 25. Which one of these is more representative of what's actually happening? The one that has the outlier removed, okay? So, one more time here. Outliers affect the mean and have little effect on median. So median is usually used to describe the average. It's a better representation of where the middle is, okay? I think there's one more thing that I want to talk about here is this concept on the side here. Let's say that you have a mean income. You actually calculate the average, and a company says, hey, we pay $17 an hour to start. It's found that the median income is $18 an hour, and it is found that the mode is $12 an hour. The mode is 12 an hour. As an employee, from an employee's perspective, like you're one of the workers on the floor, which one do you think you would use to bring your case? Like, let's say you're arguing for a raise. Which one would you use out of these two? You would say, hey, look, like, I as an employee would say, hey, Mode, like most of us make $12 an hour. You'll go to your boss and say, hey, like Mode means like most of us are making $12 an hour. So you might be inclined to use the Mode. It's like, hey, I think that that's the best way to show the middle here. If you're the employer, like the boss, which one do you think you would use? Like you would go back and say, nope, look at this, our median is 18, which means half of you make less and half of you make more. That's kind of like the middle. We'll take that one, right? So sometimes there have been questions where you have to kind of read carefully and just analyze like what would make more sense in this particular situation, right? So I gave you the mean, median, mode. You didn't have to calculate, you just have to say like which one is better in this scenario. If there are outliers, guys, you do not want the mean, okay? Outliers are bad for the mean because it affects it, it skews it, it's biased, right? So if Mark Shifley comes into this room and it's like, hey, let's do the average income. He makes what, a couple million a year? It would look like as though our income is really good in this room, right? Even though it's not as good as his income, right? In comparison, so it's not a very good representation of what's actually happening in here. What do you think the mode income is for this class? A week. Let's do hourly. Maybe close to minimum wage. Maybe some of you are lucky and you lucked out, you got a nice high-paying job, but right? I used to work at 7-Eleven. I did flyers. Flyers, to be honest, is like, I don't even know why people still do flyers, but people do flyers, right? But it's if you do hourly, if you've ever done the math on flyers, it's like $7 an hour, right? Like it's, I think that's abuse. I think that we should sue them for that. But maybe you figured out a way to do it faster. Anyways, that's the concept I wanted to cover. I'm not going to say a lot more about this. It's just going to come up as we go along. I dedicated a lot of pages to it, but it's not necessarily what we're going to be doing. Okay, so all right. So here's the AC correction. If you could please show me what you get when you add up the numbers, and then tell me what you're dividing by. You still get so I give you 1 mark for the work and 1 mark for the actual answer. Make sure you have units. Cases is fine. You don't have to have cases per day, just cases. And yes, decimals are fine because mean is a measurement, okay? Write this in ascending order. So ascending, right, you're going up. Descending would be going down. And I'm just going to trust you on this, and you just check, make sure you got all the values there. Note that you will not always be given boxes. In this case, you couldn't have missed one because there would have been an empty box in that case, so just check. 1 mark for that. And here, for the median, 2 ways of doing that. My shortcut is if it's even, I take the number of values, I divide it by 2, so I know I have to start at the 7th value and add the one that's right next to it. Right? It's you adding those 2 and divide it by 2 then. So if you've done that, if you've added and divided, I already give you 1 mark for that part right there. Just showing me what you're doing. And then I'll give you another mark for actually giving me the 310. Okay? So let's say you got these 2 numbers wrong, the 300 and 320. You lose a mark here. But if I see that you're adding and dividing by 2, you get at least 1 out of the 2 marks already. So change this, if it's out of 2 in yours, change that to out of 3 because there's another mark coming your way. The explaining part. What does that mean like when you find the median? That half of the time or half of the days there were more than 310 cases And half of the time there were fewer than 310 cases, something along those lines. So another mark for the explanation there. So question C has 3 marks attached to it, okay? What is the mode? In this case, there's just one mode, and that's 375 cases, clearly visible right here. It shows up 3 times. Line plot, we're not going to do it, but that's what it would look like. It's very easy to do when it's arranged. There are three days where you had 375, so you stack them. You can go X's or dots, it's up to you. Anyways, skip that one. Identify the outlier. The line plot shows it very nicely. That 750 is like way outside of where most of your points are. So 750 is the outlier. Predict what removing the outlier will do to the mean. Okay. So 1 mark would be where if you remove the outlier, you're removing this one, that means that your average is going to drop. Yeah? You're not adding it, you're removing it. So if you remove this one, it will decrease the mean. You get 1 mark for stating that. And why is that? Since it is an upper outlier, that would be like the 2nd mark. So you making some sort of connection that removing a high number brings down your average. That's what I want to kind of see there. And I would say if you have some sort of explanation, I'll give you 1 mark today, no matter what. And here's the puzzle. I start with the median being 5. It's an odd, right? So it is 5. That's a 1 marker. The mode is 4. So I put the 4s here. That's another mark for having the 4. That's your mode. And then I tackle the mean. It's 6 times 5, so I need a sum of 30. This already gives me 13. So I go 30 minus 13, giving me the 17. So the only thing, is it the only thing that works? 1 to 10 is all you have. 11, 6 wouldn't work. 8 and 9. Yeah. You're good. 8, 9. Anything else? Is that the only? So just make sure it adds up to 17. And I'm trying to, 12. Nobody would have tried 12 and 5 because you can't go past 10, right? But 12 and 5 would have been a problem because then you had 2 5s. Then your mode is off, right? So you got to be careful. So this page is not going to be, it's going to be different than, so 1 mark for median, 1 mark for mode, and then 1 mark for having the correct 7 and 10 or 8 and 9 at the end there. So we have 3 marks and 2, that's 5, 6, we skip this one. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So for you, it's 13 today. It's like, just put 13 somewhere on this page, and you should be fine.